Hi, this is Brother Barnes. Let's do an experimental error problem together. The theoretical yield for your copper 2 oxide precipitation was 1.1 grams. Your actual yield was 1.4 grams. Calculate the percent error. Show your work according to the problem's rubric for in-class quizzes. Okay, I'll talk about this as I go along. We know that the formula is the accepted value minus the experimental divided by the accepted. We could also say that the theoretical is accepted. We could say that. And we could say that the experimental is the actual. So this would also be the theoretical. Anyhow, let's not get hung up by definitions, but it's important to sort everything out, isn't it? This right here is represented as theoretical or accepted. The 1.4 grams is the actual or experimental. Okay. All right, with that in mind, let's plug, chug, and crank. If we have accepted 1.1 minus experimental or actual 1.4, and then we divide by the accepted, which is 1.1, theoretical or accepted 1.1, and then multiply by 100, then we can get the percent error. So let's see what we can figure out here. Estudiantes. On. Clear. 1.1 minus 1.4. Enter. Divided by 1.1. Enter. Multiplied by 100. Enter. And we get something like negative 27 repeating ad infinitum. This value has 2 sig figs, non-zero digits are significant. This one has 2. So we should report our error in 2 sig figs. So I'm going to cut this off right about in here. I'm not going to sacrifice the value or the magnitude of the number, but I want to see, does this 2 round the 7 up? The answer is no. So I would say that we should write this as negative 27%. That's how I would report it. It's in the correct number of sig figs. It's circled. I've listed the data. I've plugged the formula. You could make a case that I should actually list the formula. You know, maybe we should say accepted minus experimental divided by accepted times 100 equals percent error. There's not a whole lot more work that I can think of that we should show. One of my students made a good observation. He said, you can't have an error greater than the accepted value. Well, in this actual experiment that we did in general chemistry lab, I think that our copper 2 precipitate was possibly contaminated with copper hydroxide, maybe some copper sulfate, and that could have inflated this value to a larger value. Nevertheless, it's still an error. The other thing that I always want to talk about is, how is it too much, but yet it has a negative in front of it? The only way I can settle this up that it makes sense to me is if you look at accounting, if you have a negative in accounting, it is actually an overage, a credit. That's what I got on this one. Estudiantes experimental error. That's probably too much time on it, but we got it done. This is Brother Barnes. Keep up the good work.